And our top story tonight, could FTX make a comeback? An extraordinary new development in the saga of the FTX crypto meltdown. FTX's new chief executive, John Ray, says he is looking into the possibility of reviving the bankrupt crypto exchange. Now, remember, as many as 1 million investors lost money in the collapse of the company, not to mention the many creditors who were still owed money. FTX's founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, was arrested in December and has been indicted for a range of offenses that, if convicted on all counts, could send him to jail for up to 115 years. But all that's not stopping Mr. Ray, the new chief executive there, talking about a comeback. Quote, everything is on the table. If there is a path forward on that, then we will not only explore that, we'll do it. Now, Mr. Ray's optimism is pretty bold, but there are still a lot of dark clouds hovering over the exchange, not least of which are questions about whether regulators in Congress and at the SEC dropped the ball on FTX because of the company's endless schmoozing inside the Beltway, as well as its multi-million-dollar, quote, donations made to mostly Democrat political groups. Now, there was also a revolving door between regulators and FTX employees, and these connections came in very handy for the company. FTX's chief counsel, Ryan Miller, once worked as legal counsel for SEC Chairman Gary Gensler when Gensler was head of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. According to the LA Times, emails show that Mr. Miller managed to use old contacts with regulators to get Bankman-Fried a seat at dinner with former CFTC Commissioner Dan Berkovitz back in October 2021. At the time, FTX was floating a proposal with the CFTC to change the operation of clearinghouses. This is a big deal. Dennis Kelleher, he's president of a group that advocates for financial regulation, said, quote, these emails show that the CFTC had an open door policy to meet basically whenever FTX wanted to meet, including with the then acting chair, end quote. Now, the question is, did all these contacts help the company cover up some very obvious warning signs about FTX's viability? That's a question that still hasn't been answered. Maybe should be answered before we talk about resurrecting FTX. For more, let's turn to our own Charlie Gasparino, who's been all over this story from the beginning. By the way, Charlie, I want to read this tweet that was sent out by Sam Bankman-Fried this morning. He said, I'm glad Mr. Ray is finally paying lip service to turning the exchange back on after months of squashing such efforts. I'm still waiting for him to finally admit that FTX US is solvent and give customers their money back. So what's going on?
I mean, I think he's out of his mind, and you know, and obviously, listen, if you read any indictment, any of the charges, and you know, and talk to anybody that knew about this operation, particularly now in hindsight, they would say that this is he's either the dumbest person in the world that ran a major financial firm, or he's a massive fraud. Either way, he's guilty. Right. Okay, so you can't be willfully ignorant of basic controls that allow people to pull stuff out of out of segregated accounts that are supposed to be safe kept and move it into a risk-taking hedge fund. I will say this: the clearinghouse thing is interesting, because I know for a fact, not for a fact, I know my sources are telling me that he was trying to create a bank, a nationally chartered bank. He was trying to get approval for that.
Turn FTX into a bank.
No, get this bank, and this was part of his ploy, essentially, to get a regulated exchange from the CFTC, and the SEC. He met twice with Gary Gensler on this issue, and essentially the regulated bank would be the clearinghouse. Okay, now whether he would take deposits in the future, you never know with this guy, but the bank would essentially be the clearinghouse that would hold the crypto in this new nationally registered entity that he was trying to create, with Brad Katsuyama of IEX. Okay, remember, he's the guy that was in Flash Boy. So this proposal was rolling essentially right up to the minute the whole thing blew up. And by the way, he met with Gary Gensler not once but twice on this issue, and he kept. And
what does that say about the SEC, though, and where their focus was?
You know,
it was clear, by the way, to many people who knew about exchanges, like Terry Duffy at the Chicago Merc, that this guy was up to no good. And now that Ray has had a close look at the books, which he has, the new CEO there, he said they were just in shambles. There was nothing substantive going on there.
I'm not a big fan of the SEC's regulation of crypto, and here's why. I think it was misplaced. They went after all these digital coins and tried to say, hey, you should have registered them with the SEC because they're really securities. And, we're going to, especially Ripple is one of the examples, the company Ripple, which has a cross-border payment mechanism. It financed that through the sale of its native coin, XRP. They said there's a big case going on with Ripple right now.
That was started, I think, in 2020, right?
Jay Clayton, Trump's SEC chair, started his last day in office was essentially filing a case against Ripple. I'm a big critic of that because I think the coins themselves. If you buy a coin, if you buy Dogecoin, it's you know what it is. If I buy a coin, I know I don't need the SEC to say, oh, they're registered with us. Right. Where this gets murky is if you trade crypto, you trade them on these intermediaries, and why the SEC didn't say, hey, these intermediaries, what are the safeguards in place? Why aren't they registered? Why aren't we looking at them? And the fact that they did not take a look at FTX, a deep look at it, is going to be a problem. And
it also gets murky because of all of the connections that they had, not only with the regulators at the SEC,
well, of course, yes,
and the revolving door that they had with members of the FTX who were old regulators who were in that revolving door, but also Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, Maxine Waters, who was the head of the financial committee in Congress,
House Financial Services,
had her arms around the guy.
It's typical. Sam Bankman-Fried looks like a new type of fraudster. Very smart. But it's really no different than Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, no different than Bernie Madoff. A lot of these guys get a pass because there's something known as regulatory capture. Bernie Madoff was well known at the SEC, at NASDAQ, because he helped create NASDAQ. He was well known, so people didn't think he was a bad guy. And I think some of that worked here. Now, let's switch gears and talk about creating, bringing back FTX. Now, remember, John Ray has essentially one job. It's to get as much money back. It's his fiduciary responsibility to get as much money back for the people that lost it, because it looks
billions, right?
It looks like it's billions that were pilfered or taken, allegedly pilfered. He's not convicted yet.
Where are they?
Lost in the global crypto casino of his side hustle hedge fund, and spent on real estate. So he's got this thing. He's got an asset called a crypto exchange, FTX. What does he do with that? Yeah. Okay, so if he can't sell it, now who would buy it and for how much? Like 1 cent? Right. I mean, who would buy something that is going to get the proctology exam of the century?
That's a pretty graphic description.
But from the Securities Exchange, now they're definitely going to look at it, right? So how much is that worth in this regulatory environment? So it may be the only thing he's got left to squeeze a few bucks out of it is to run some transactions.
There's another thing we got to talk about, which is they're so focused right now on all this woke ESG stuff. The SEC is. They've got these new rules that are proposed for that. They have plenty of time for that.
They want to upend the stock market.
But they let FTX go by. I mean, again, that talks to the focus of the regulators right now. They're not helping a million potential investors in FTX, but they're putting out these new rules on ESG.
I have nothing against Gary Gensler. I don't know him personally, but he gets a wicked pass from the media, the mainstream media, because he speaks to their desires about wokeism, progressivism. But if you really think about it, the stuff he's going out, and he's really forcing his staff, which doesn't have a lot of time to focus on in this crazy environment, is stuff like ESG, making sure there's lots of disclosures come out of companies, and if they don't do it right, ding them, sue them. Changing the entire structure of the stock market, which, by the way, works pretty good. I know it's not perfect, but we could always improve it. Yeah. But he wants to make massive changes. While all this is going on, he's going also after these digital coins, which I hate to say it. I mean, if you buy Dogecoin, if you buy Bitcoin and you lose half your value, I mean, it's buyer beware, dude. What's not buyer beware is the weak link in the system. And that was always the digital wallets, whether they were secured, as they said they were, and, whether they met up with compliance. And he said he had the authority, and he never went after it.
And if you deposit something, it should be where you deposit it, not be sent out for crazy loans to God knows where. Charlie, very quick answer. Is FTX going to be revived? Yes or no?
I don't know, but I don't think it would be anything close to what it is. I mean, it's got regulatory taint. It's got scandal written all over it. And would you use it?
No, absolutely not. I don't have to take a second to think about that.
We got crypto guys. Would you guys use it?
I won't use it.
All right, Charlie, great to see you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.